Hello and welcome to another episode of the Christian Reeve podcast. Today's guest is a director at No Margins Media. His name is Nigel Sandridge. How do I explain Nigel? Because I've met this guy in real life. A bubbly, positive ball of energy that seems to inject that into everything that he does. Welcome to the show. How you doing?
I'm good like God with an extra O, my guy. I'm just here vibing with you today.
Nah,
Sand,
it's
the clarity of the world. Call me sand. It just flows so much easier, man. You'll get me. You get me better.
yeah. That was what I was going to ask you about because on Instagram your name is Sensei Sand. I think I read it somewhere that you were interviewed before about it, and yeah, can you just explain that real quick? What does that mean?
Yes, sir. So they call me Sensei Sand, like the beach. I ain't hard to reach. I like to talk, but I don't preach. And it's my director tag, it's my creative tag. It's kind of just a mantra for life, to be completely honest with you. I don't care who I'm talking to about anything. We will have a real conversation. And it will be something that you'll grow from. So, with that being said, Christian, you were telling me a
Nah.
story 5 seconds ago, right before the camera came on. And I feel like this is something I would like to discuss, if that's all
Okay.
right.
Well, I would just say now, even though this show has my name on it, it's not about me. I have a show on Patreon. It's called Life with Christian Reeve. That's kind of the dumping place for me and my thoughts. And actually, even that show tends to just be on a particular topic. I kind of morphed it into that. But if I do have like a big story, I'll either share it there, or I tend to share my stories on like live streams, whatever. Because life is about storytelling. And my life is kind of crazy. I don't know. Sometimes I look at it and I'm like, this is kind of interesting. Maybe this would make for a good book or a TV show. And I've joked about that before. Like, this is just that ridiculous. And it sounds like I'm showing off or something, but actually, it's more kind of like when I took this dive into the creative world, I knew it would be crazy, but I didn't realize the things I would come across, how I would change, what would happen, and everything in between. And truthfully, I've never really been like a quote unquote like normal person. I tried to be. I
Yeah.
tried to do that, the 9 to 5, whatever, and I just felt bored. I felt like I just couldn't think of anything worse. And this is not a shot at anyone that does that. Like if you can find happiness in what you do, that's the goal, that's the aim. For me, happiness is being on a stage and performing in front of people, acting on camera, creating characters. I'm like a kid in a candy shop whenever I'm on set or playing music or getting to do a show like this. Like these are the things that I live for, that I dream about doing.
Yeah.
And then you have other times when I'm serving rooms full of people, which is most of my life, and it turns into great stories. But like, there's always this kind of, how do I put it? It's like trying to make love to a person that you don't love. You just can't. You can give all your heart and soul into it. I just posted something today actually from the event that I will discuss in a second. Um, and I tried something creative with like the shots, and it looked nice. And I was like, "There's a little bit of me in that work, but it's still not what I want to be doing." And I've been doing it for years now, and I need to catch a break, to be honest. And as I mentioned before, this show is not about me. When I first started doing this podcast, it was all about just doing a podcast. I wanted to do a podcast because I was a fan of podcasts from like way back when podcasts first started. I like Ricky Gervais era, that kind of, I was obsessed with it. I used to go to this shitty supermarket job that I hated when I was like 18, 19 and stand on train platforms for hours and just listen to this show and laugh my ass off and forget about all the crap that I was dealing with. And I thought, oh, it'd be cool to do that one day. And then years later, an opportunity came and I did a podcast with a few people. It fell through. And then I was like, well, I want to keep doing this, but these guys don't want to. So what now? And then, as with everything in my life, I had to do it on my own. I had to just do it. And I was like, fuck it. All right, I'll do it. 4 years later, 277 episodes. And I've interviewed people from all around the world, different walks of life, different creeds, colors, jobs, passions, you name it. And I've learned a lot. And now it's become something bigger than myself. And I think that, if anything else, is what it's all about, is in all the art that you create in life. If you can create things that are bigger than yourself, you start to tap into something bigger. And this impasse that I'm faced at the moment is, I know I've got something. I know I've got something to give. I just need people to take a chance on me. And there are people in my life that do and have, but I need to keep pushing, you know? I need it to be my life. I can't do the regular life because I just feel like it's not a life worth living. For me specifically, I just can't do that because it's like putting a bird in a cage. It should be flying. It's just how it is. It has to be flying. So I'm at this event,
Peeling back
and
the layers early, man. We peeling back the layers early. Fine. Give me some breaking points. I'm letting you catch your breath right here for this part. Because that right there is the type of conversations I wanted to have. I'm glad we could get right into some shit like that. Look at that. Look at that. Early. They did this in 270 episodes. No, this is the one we want to go with. So keep going.
we are going to be talking about you though, because the whole point of this
Oh,
show is it's supposed to be
we
about
gonna
my
get to
guests.
me. We gonna get to me, man. We gonna get to me.
I'll share this story
But I,
real quick, and then we'll get into you. That's because that's what needs to happen. Okay. I'm at this event, and I work for several agencies, and they're great. They look after you. They make sure you get work. So massive thank you to all them for making it possible, for making it that in a way that I could pursue this stuff and have a means of earning income. It's flexible. Hospitality work is very flexible. I've always given the example of what's his name from The Office, Krasinski. You know the guy. He's yeah. Obviously, prior to him getting that role as Jim in The Office, the story. I love telling this story because it's just fun. I will. I promise I'll tell you my story, but I just quickly
you
want
just
to
put a story in a story, man. You gotta
story
wrap.
within the story in the story. He said to his mum he was going to pursue acting for like 3 years or something in, I think, New York City. And every actor knows how difficult that is, whether it's LA, New York City, London. I'm here in Manchester. You face a lot of opposition. I've lost count of how many people have told me, wow, your chances are very slim. It's a tough industry. There's a lot of competition. Blah, blah, blah. It's like, tell me something I want to hear. Don't tell me the shit that I already know. Like, yeah, I know the odds. It's just how it is. This has nothing to do with me like gambling and thinking like, oh, I've got what it takes. Like I believe that, but it's not about the mathematics. It's about pursuing something that you have to pursue because deep down in your soul, you know that that's what's right for you.
Okay.
And I come to believe that people like John Krasinski did that. He put a time limit on it. He was like, if it doesn't work out after 3 years, I'll go home. And he said that to his mum. And he was working in like a restaurant job, waiting tables, And I'll just preface this as well by saying that I have nothing against that type of work. I'm just saying that it's not for me. It's very hard work, hospitality, customer service. It's very demanding. People think it's just, serving people at tables, giving them drinks, but there's so much more to it that you just don't see.
Yeah, we are in a story.
I
A story. Give me back to you, man.
will. We're getting there. We're getting there. We're getting there. Don't worry. This is one thing I learned about podcasting is always to circle back, circle back, circle back, circle
Yes,
back.
sir.
So in a nutshell, that's what customer service is. It's very demanding and you have to just pull it off. And if you're an artist waiting tables and you're hoping for that big break and it doesn't come, sound familiar? It starts to get to you. It starts to make you question if you just have what it takes. And John Krasinski, after nearly 3 years of doing it, was about to finish. He was like, "Well, it's not happened. Time to go home." And he messaged his mum and he told her that. And he called her, and then she told him to stay around for like another month or two. Just stick around. And he was like, "Well, it's my mum. I listen to my mum, so why not? I'll just do it. Like it's another 2 months. What's another 2 months?" Then he gets the office, and his life changed in a way that I don't think he could have imagined it would. And the funny thing is, he'd recorded that whole first season, and it was airing, and he was still waiting tables at that point. So there was still like a crossover and transitionary period before it kind of changed his life. But it did happen. And when I hear stories like that, it inspires me with what I'm doing because on one hand, there are many days in my life where I'm looking at my friends and they're all smashing it and I'm really happy for them. And I'm like feeling sorry for myself, like why is it not happening? What am I doing wrong? Am I not good enough? Blah 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 blah, right? But then there's other days when you get a taste of something, when you feel
Yeah.
like, oh, maybe there's something there. Yeah, maybe it's someone tells you that you're really good at what you do. Or maybe it's that someone says, "Oh, I might have an opportunity for you." Or maybe you even actually got to do a little gig and it went well and you're like, "Oh, maybe this could build to something." The hope is alive, basically. So to this event, it's a VIP event for the agency. It was at a person's house, the owner's house.
Okay.
Um, so a few things. So I felt grateful that they were willing to trust me and a few others with that. That was pretty cool, you know. Because I've only worked for this agency for like maybe 8 months. You know, I've worked hard. I've done a lot of work, but that just felt like a big deal. Um, and it's all people you've worked with that you know, and then lots of people you don't know, like family, friends, whatever. Um, but you're still serving people, and you're serving successful people. Now that's nothing new for me, but it does plant this idea in your head about people being like above you and stuff like that, which I know is ridiculous, but you can't help how you feel. Like one thing I always notice is, when I'll put the shirt and tie on and I play this role of waiter or bartender or whatever. Like I do the role, I play it, I do what's expected, but I almost like disassociate every time I do it because it's not who I want to be. It's not who I am, but it's what is demanded of me. And it's funny, like when I tell people sometimes, especially people I work with, that I do stuff outside of this, they almost have like look surprised, like oh, I wouldn't have thought you would do something like that kind of like you do that, and it's like yeah, I do. Thanks, you know. And but then there's the absurdity of it all sometimes as well. I mean, the day that we met, it was a sunny day, and we had to do was decant drinks into can or glasses and give them to people, and we didn't have to charge anyone because it was already a prepaid bar, and we just had fun and we got free food, and it was just a laugh, and it was only like 3 4 hours work, and it was fun. It was the same with this event. I was I drank a lot. Um, we, they told us we could. I tried to be sensible, and then before you know it, everyone's doing shots every time that we do rounds of drinks. Oh, you take a shot, you take a shot, and I lost count of how many shots I had. But I kept it together. I did the work properly, so always professional. What's my point with all of this? Well, I guess that this type of work takes you in all sorts of crazy directions, and you find yourself in crazy situations, and you're grateful for the elements of it, like, oh, I got paid and I got to drink and I got to have a good time and it was fun and I felt appreciated. But then there's that other part where you're like, when's it going to be my time though, man? When am I going to leave this behind and do what I really should be doing? And that in a
Yeah.
nutshell is it. So there you go.
Thank you, man. Thank you for breaking that down for me. Cause that's all I talk about, this type of shit. So welcome to the greatest podcast on the world with Christian Reeves and Sensei Sand today. But no, I get completely where you come from. And I think the story arc of every creative is kind of based off these feelings, which is why like I think I have an interesting story up to so far. Because like even when we met, for example, right? We met at an event similar to what you experienced last night, right? And the year before, I did that exact same event. I learned some just transformational information at that event the year previous, right? It was I'm on a crew, I'm working with the team, we're having a great time, high energy laughs, this and that. And I remember just saying out loud, right? Oh, puh, I would never take this type of job because it's beneath me. A guy calmly told me, it was a nice talk, my homeboy. He came up to me and he told me afterwards, he was just like, bro, don't ever say nothing like that in your career because then you create the perspective of being too good for shit. And I'm over here like, they must not know who I'm going to be. But he was absolutely right because 9 times out of 10, you're working with a lot of people who have these dreams and these goals and these ambitions. It may not be in what you want to do, but everybody is a bird feeling like they're trapped in a cage. So you have to empathize with the fact that they're all here trying to make a conscious effort, right? But it's hard because it's not what you want to do. So what I started doing was I started realizing that you gotta like imitate art with your life. Like your life has to become art. You have to put art into everything you do in life because even though it's not my time, I'm getting ready for when it is my time, right? So if I'm doing a job and I think this is the worst job in the world, my brain has to now be tailored to remember that this is my artist journey. This is my book. I'm writing my book right now. This is you giving you your John Krasinski moments where it's like a week or two ago, right? I was in a mascot suit
I
dancing
saw this.
at a
Yeah.
fucking event, right? And I was sweaty. It was miserable. I was blind. I was distorted with how I saw myself, right? And then I was just thinking, man, well, at least I got my own stuff going on. At least I got my own stuff going on, this and that, which is a good feeling. But I was also like, tuh, I would never want people to see me this way. So I decided to let everybody see me this way.
Well, that's what I loved about it. In the caption, you were like, "Oh, I just did this because it was fun. It's
Yeah,
funny,"
because fuck
and I'm
them.
like,
Like,
"Yeah, yeah, I agree with you, dude. Same. Like,
sometimes,
same here. Like, I
mhm,
over the years, if anything, I find it funny because now in my life, I'm able to list off all the things I've done. So, you ready for this? This is every job that I've done up to this point since I began working. It's by the time I eventually do make it, I will have probably just worked in every field imaginable.
yep, same.
I swept hair in my dad's shop because he's a barber by trade. So that was my very first job. I've worked in a supermarket, and I did all of the roles in that supermarket before I left, and I trained people in that role as well. I have worked as a student ambassador at university. I've worked as like telesales slash kind of like donations cool person on the phone at uni.
Mhm.
I've worked as a kitchen porter in a pub. I've worked as a food and beverage assistant, a bartender, a barista. Obviously, I've done acting. I've done voice acting. I've played gigs and earned money for that as well. I've done volunteer work. I know you've done that. We'll get into that in a bit. Um, and I don't know, with what we do, like I love what you said about how you try to put that artistry and into everything. Your attitude and your mindset, I always bang on about this all the time, but it really is the most important thing because one day it will be different and you'll get to do those things that you love all the time. But when you think about like creating, like you're a film director, right?
Mhm.
And when you're making film, you're making it based on life, what you experience, what you dream about. The more you experience, the more you have to talk about. It's no coincidence that, for instance, this show and my live streams and content is better all these years later because I've practiced it. I've gone out there and lived. I've have stuff to talk about. We have stuff to talk about, you know? And it's like, oh, your mind's again, I sound like a broken record, but it's true. Choices. Everything in life is a choice. Do I choose to be annoyed and upset that I'm in a mascot uniform, or do I choose to see the positives? It's silly. It's a funny photo. I can share this with my kids one day and be like, look at what dad did.
Bro, I always wanted to be a mascot. My whole life, I wanted to be a mascot at least once. I just knocked the thing off my bucket list and I got paid for it. What am I complaining about? I can't sit here and be a diva and be like, nobody knows me. Nobody cares about who I am. That's the plus. Nobody knows me. Nobody cares about who I am. The more you do this stuff, the more eyes get on you, the more you're perceived, the more it becomes less about your art and more about who you are as a person, right? And I've become to know this just from all the stuff I've been doing recently, right? And it makes me realize, bro, I fucking hate being perceived. But hey, fuck it, you're here. You're just kind of here. So you might as well be your natural, real, authentic self, as opposed to trying to formulate what you think success is for yourself, like, or the world. You know what I'm saying? I don't build into the world. I build into the me I do see. Like, when you go in these rooms, you got to watch all the people because you get inspired from life and you can take the stuff that's going to be your like your if you ever got to play that role, you know it now because you've observed it, right?
Mm-hmm.
But when I see success and I see success from different people, I'm not looking at it on their terms, but I'm looking at it on my terms, and I'm looking at who I want to be when I'm at that phase, as opposed to being like, why am I not there now? I look at who I want to be when I get to that phase and how I want to be. And I just try to treat myself like I already know that's coming. So I got to treat myself like that, and I got to treat the world like that, and I got to figure out who I am now. So when I have it, it's there. You know what I'm saying? If you figure out the way to roll now by being the best fucking raider, you go do the bear right. You know what I'm saying? And that's how you get into these positions where you can method act and you can do a role or something to the highest quality is by taking everything you do a little serious, the same way you take your craft serious. If I was in that mascot suit, and guess what I'm gonna do? It was some drums playing. I can't see. I'm gonna hit a jig. I done figured out a system with the guy. I'm like, yo, just hold my purse, bro. Hold my purse. I'm gonna walk down the line and just keep them hype. And it's like that's the extra effort that most people wouldn't put in when they feel miserable and when they don't want to do this thing. You know what I'm
Yeah.
saying? I gave myself a timer to go take breaks and woo side when I'm covered head to toe in sweat. And it's like, but that's learning to have the mindset that even though shit's gonna suck, you gotta get ready for when your time does come. And you can't be ready if you've been slacking in life. Like you you can't be ready if you have to feel like, you exist in spaces where you mask yourself. Because I've been the guy who worked places and nobody knew I had a life outside of there. And then they find out, like, oh, you're a real person. It's like, yes, I just pretend not to
See,
be around you.
but that right there bothers me. That small thing. Oh, you're a real person. You do things outside of it. Like it undermines the work itself. Like I met a lot of people in hospitality over the years. People that were actually genuinely like passionate about it and work hard. I can see that, and that inspires me because I see the level of dedication they have. Because it's not just a job for them; it's their life.
Yeah.
And I dedicate myself in that moment to making that dream come alive for them. In everything that I do, it's about dream chasing, dream making. I know it sounds a bit cringe, but I don't care. That's the brand. That's what we're doing. We're trying to chase dreams. We're trying to get the most out of any given situation. And the more you care, the more you get out of it. Like when I was doing this private party, because it was at the owner's house, which was crazy. I was like, wow, this not only is we've been trusted to work here, but this is in this person's home. This is an extra level of trust. And I felt a little bit honored, to be honest. And then I remember, like, once the introductions are done and, you're settling and you're kind of figuring out, now it's work mode. Now we're setting up. It's like, okay, there's a buffet here. And I'm thinking about all the times I've worked a buffet and what's the best system to put that. And we're sort of quickly discussing amongst ourselves, like, how should we do this? Should we do it this way, this way, this way? And I'm in like work mode. And then I'm thinking about it and I'm like, I've trained to do this. This is a role that I've exceeded in. It makes no sense to not put the same level of dedication and heart and soul into everything you do. Like, it doesn't make sense to not do it in one area but do it in another. So I try to put my very best into everything I do, right? And here's the other side to that as well. You never know who's in the room. You never
Yep.
know who you're going to meet. Like the guy that's one of the guys that's producing my album right now. Shout out to George. I met him working in a restaurant, just chatting, and he mentioned he was into music, and I was like, "Oh, shit, really? Interesting." And then you get chatting, and one thing leads to another, and now you're working together.
Let's
And
go.
it's go.
I
What's
threw,
up?
I threw, I threw an event one time, right? And it was super cool because all these people came. And it was just so interesting to see every different way a person met me. Like a guy be like, I met him when he was a Christmas elf. Oh, he directed a film for me. Oh, he acted in my this. Oh, he did this and that for me. Oh, like I think that cachet is so interesting because it's as a creative, you got to realize too that the rooms don't come to you. You shouldn't ask to be in anybody else's room. It's your own job to make a room that works for you. Like, and it's not going to come from the most orthodox ways. It's not going to just be from a film school kids, you making friends with them and stuff. It's not going to be just from getting on a set and then making all the friends there, but it's going to be from the people in your life who also got goals and dreams and ambitions that they want to chase. You know what I'm saying? It's your job to find out what the people around you have passions about too, because then they become real in your life the same way yours are real in your own head. We think so centered on ourselves that it's like, no, it's the ecosystem around you. If you got a passion, the people around you should want you to chase it as much as you want them to chase theirs. So it's like my homies was coming. My homeboy Reese, he's in the military. He has a great job already. He'll come, he'll hold lights on my sets, he'll bring us snacks, he'll be the producer, he'll keep just the extras in line or something. If we got too much going on, he will take a load off my brain because he knows it's my dream. You know what I'm saying? And like that's where you get the real support to keep doing this stuff. It's not about necessarily, waiting on the people around you to believe in you, but finding those people like the George at the restaurant who will believe in taking chances with you. You
This
can't wait on
is
the
yeah.
world to be like, oh, take a chance on me, because once you do that, they look down on you, they spit at you. I actually just
Well, no, this is okay. I agree with you, but this is where we differ on this point because yeah, like you said, it depends if people want to walk with you.
hmm
When I say people don't want to take the journey with me, it's like what I mean is I've done everything I need to do. Now it's just a case of finding those people or, you know, shouting at the people around me and be like, hey man, give me a chance. What about me? I can do it. Just fucking try me. I'll do it. I'll act in that film. I'll play that gig. I'll do this and it'll be great. Why? Because I'll put everything I have into it.
yeah,
You won't get anything less than my best.
yeah. And this is why you have to arrogantly approach people this way. I know it's
I
fucked up,
do.
but I had a meeting with a guy the other day, and we were just talking about life and stuff, and we had a similar conversation to this. And I felt like at the moment I realized to him we're not on the same level, which is fine. It's completely understandable, but I have to arrogantly feel this passionately about anything I'm doing in every room because this is what I want to do. This is who I want to be. I really do think I'm going to be one of the greatest artists ever. And I have to have a concept like that in my head. For me, it's not for you guys. Hate to say it, but it has to be for yourself so you can keep that dedication knowing that even when you've done everything you could possibly do, you have to do more. Because look, when you learn how to do everything at a high level in your regular life, that just means the thing you want to do the most, you got to be even better at. That just means that you gotta really believe in that shit. That just means you gotta really go for it. And you gotta go for it so fucking bad that it's look like you scratching and clawing. Because guess what? Until you get to where you need to be, you're not where you need to be. You know what I'm saying? The more that I've scratched and clawed, the more doors are open for me, the more I'll be able to create worlds for the people around me. And it makes me want to scratch and fucking claw more because I want more, because I need to see this be something in front of me because I made this a thing. I made the opportunity for myself a thing. And now you making it a thing more because the people around you also believe in it, which makes it a bigger thing. You know what I'm saying? John Krasinski's mom believed in him because he was putting that work in past what she saw. So even when he felt defeated, she was like, no, you've made it a thing in my head too now. So you have to do it. It's nothing better than I can't quit now. I can't quit now because I made it such a thing that it would be too many people let down.
This is exactly how I feel now. I know there are people that have believed in me for years, and sometimes I struggle to see why. But then when they explain why, I start to think about it and I'm like, oh, I see. Because there are things that you take for granted. For instance, with me, I'm very stubborn. I won't give up. I don't know. I think it comes from my parents. They're very like hard working people. Um, you just inherit these things, I guess, sometimes. But like that, there's just something in me that like I just can't stop. The idea of stopping feels pointless. It feels like dying. I don't know. This just sounds so dramatic, but it really does feel that way. And when I think about the idea of like, oh, maybe I should stop doing this, or oh, it's been several years and it's not worked out, and it's like, yeah, but there are these people that see something in me, that see that thing that I want the world to see, that I see sometimes. Because like I try my very best to, and this is a very hard thing to do as well. I think as an artist, as a human being, is to try to look at yourself objectively.
Yeah.
For instance, if you're like when I'm on set, I think this is evidence of what will happen for in the future. Like one day I'd like to direct. I feel like I would be good at it. I'm good with people. I'm good at organizing stuff, and I love filmmaking. But my focus is acting and telling stories at the moment. Right? I want to kind of build on that first and make the transition maybe later on, and just do you know what I mean? Do all things film, whether it's on screen, off screen, whatever. Like just the whole process, I love. But whenever I'm watching my own performance back, I'm not watching it to be like, oh, how good am I? Like, how do I look? Like, I'm thinking more like, is my performance good for this scene? Does it work off what the other actor is doing? Do I need more or less? Like, how does this look? And in much the same way as being in the studio when I'm working on songs, if it doesn't sound good, I'm like, right, again, let's do that again, one more time, again. And I want other people to turn around and be like, no, shit, do it again. Or I think we can get more out of you if you do this. Or, you know what I mean? Like, that's what I love, the collaborative process of it all, pushing each other to try to get the best, most meaningful, most inspiring, thought provoking piece. And you can only get that by pushing each other, by trying to take yourself outside of the equation and stop thinking about the personal stuff for a minute and just think, okay, is this actually good? Is this what I want to achieve? Or do I need to push a bit more? And to speak to what you said before about you know the level of the work you need to put in, how you need to do more for the thing that you really love in life, could not agree more. I feel like it's just something that life demands. And I have these moments sometimes where, you know, I wake up and I'm exhausted, tired from work, defeated, whatever. You know, the idea of doing several auditions in a day is like, oh, I can't be bothered. And then the minute that I think that, the very second that I think that, it's always the same. I ask myself the question, well, how much do you want this? Like, what do you really want? And when I find myself going silent for a minute and then going, well, of course I want it. The other voice is like, well, do the work then. Just do it. Just do the work.
Like that's what you can do, man. Just gotta do the work. Like I'm not into all that rah rah super motivational speaker online shit.
So
Like
shut the fuck up, Christian.
yeah, no, no, no. I'm just no. So like What I mean by that is like I believe in empowerment for yourself, but
Sure.
I don't feel like, people like that should be the thing that makes people get inspired. But like you should be able to dig into yourself and have that discovery sometimes. But it goes through ego death, man. So it's going through those different phases of what it is. But the thing about it is that we get so caught up in how to be precise that sometimes we lose the artistry, and you can't do that. You got to enjoy the journey. You got to be silly with it. Before we did this podcast, you saw me. I was in here doodling, doodling. Look at this right here. Look at this right here. I've been learning how to pop lock and like just. Oh wait, wait. I've been learning how to like just do random silly shit because like life's supposed to be fun, and the things you're creating for yourself are getting bigger than you, which is a blessing. But you want to know that you enjoy the journey on where it goes. Because if you just pop out and get a role tomorrow, you want to know that you can have a good time there, that you can have that creative aspect, that you can be with people that will help you get in those rooms. I tell artists all the time how to do shit that's stupid and silly. But you know why? Because I do all the stupid and silly shit first so that they can't ever be like, oh, well, he wanted me to ball up and be sweaty and this and that. I died in a mascot outfit. For like 6 hours, I died in a mascot outfit. I can tell you about, something being uncomfortable. Life's uncomfortable. Everything is uncomfortable to some degree, but the shit you want to do is just the fun uncomfortable. It's
Couldn't
it's
agree more.
you don't want to do a lot of this shit that's going to take you to that next step, but you got to. You got to go out and socialize. You got to go out and talk to people. You got to go out and be in their face and let them know that you want it badly. I told this guy the other day when I had this meeting, and I don't think he really grasped what the meeting was, but I was just saying to him, like, I'm not here to like, you know, ask you for anything or be this to you or this and that. I just want you to see my face. I wanted you to understand that I've heard of you and I'm in your area now. I'm in your room. I'm in your world. I just want you to know I exist because now the fact that I exist in your world, I got to be great. I got to be great because you got to see me again. I can't just be a flash of the pan kid who came in and talked to you one time. No, I got to go out and I got to build my own and I got to establish what's going to work for me and we will see each other again. And we will continue to keep seeing each other because now I'm on a tier where I can see that. When I see the people around me be successful, it just lets me be like, oh, I could do that too. You know what I'm saying? It's all environmental based. Like, when you look around and you look at the failures of the people around you, all you feel like is the failures in your life. But when you look at the successes and you look at the gratitude and things they got going for themselves, you will also have that in your own life.
Yeah, I hope so. I don't know. I mean, when I look at my career over the years, there's been, if I look at it candidly, there's been some amazing experiences, things I never thought would happen. But then also, I look at, where I should be and where I am. And I don't mean this in the case of like, oh, I should be a megastar. What I mean is regular work. We all have different ideas of what success is. For me, regularly getting paid to do what we love to do, that's success in my mind. To live creatively, that's the goal. That's the dream. Now, however far we can take that, by all means, let's take it to the ends of the earth. Let's really just throw ourselves in this. But that's the goal. To me, the fact that after 5 or 6 years of pursuing this, like I have a degree, I did marketing, I did sales, I did recruitment, I did all these different things, and yeah, I'm back doing a job that I did, like 10 years ago. It's hard not to feel like a failure sometimes. It's hard not to, and there's nothing wrong with failing. Failing is part of life, but I'm always trying to look for the meaning behind things.
Mhm.
Like how am I growing? How am I progressing? How am I better than I was yesterday? Like these are the mindsets I try to have. But I can't help but look at everyone around me and go, right, they're succeeding and they're working hard, and that's how they've gotten there. I'm doing the same thing, but I'm failing. So either I'm doing something wrong or I'm just not talented. Like I don't have what it takes. And it's difficult with that continual battle in one's mind to keep trying, to keep going. I've had people reach out and say, like, oh, I find it inspiring that you do that. And I'm like, well, the only reason I keep going, and I mentioned it before, is just because Like, what else is there? Just, I mean, what would my life look like if I did give up? Like, just think about that for a second. If you're thinking about giving up, think about this. What does that day to day look like after you've day one of giving up, day 50 of giving up? I mean, how is there ever going to be happiness there? As you mentioned before, what's really important is the journey. And I have to say, like, I've loved the journey, the ups and the downs. It's exciting. My life, as frustrating as it is exciting. I can see that in your life too. We definitely share this kind of love of what we do, and there's this excuse to be childish and silly because that's what it's about. You should be like a little kid running around having fun because that's what it's supposed to be. It's not all supposed to be serious. You can take yourself seriously and work hard, but it should be fun. You know, when I'm on set, like I like to crack jokes and be silly and absurd and pull faces and like, it's that's part of it. And also because I don't know the next time I'm going to get to do it. This year, I've had one project, like one acting project. Um, I've had some voiceover stuff, little bits here and there, but as far as my acting career is concerned, it's been a bad year for me. It's been a very hard time. The last 8 months, there's been times when I wasn't sure if I was going to make it to the next month. Couldn't eat properly. It was hard, and that's life. Sometimes I'm used to that, but when you look at the bigger picture of everything, where is this headed? What's what does the future have in store for me? I think I get scared sometimes, if I'm honest, because I don't know that there's anything at the end of that journey. Like I get scared at this idea that maybe, I get to the other end of the tunnel and there's just nothing. And then I think about like everything I sacrificed, everything I did, was it for nothing? That's the thing that truly terrifies me above all else is what if it's all for nothing? It's a terrifying thought. You know what I mean? Like to
Yeah,
think
no.
about that, like
I think that's the thought that most people have, but it's also the stupidest thought possible. Cause hear me out, right? Sometimes when I get sad, and I just think about life, and I think about like how every step forward feels like two steps back.
yes,
So like it's
that is my
only
life.
but right, that's just life. That's life for everyone. I've come to realize, and I've also come to realize, bro. I was gonna do this shit anyways. So
Yeah,
it doesn't matter. Even if it's a hard point right now, I was gonna do this anyways. I was always gonna do this. I was never not gonna do this. It even you can sit there and be as sad and woe as me as you want to, but you were always gonna do this. So you just gotta recalibrate and figure out how to get smarter about it. Because it's not necessarily that you were doing things the wrong way. But there's a different way you need to learn and you haven't understood about yourself yet. There's a different way to approach the puzzle and to look at the board. You know what I'm saying? Sometimes you have to step away and come back because you get so into a thing that it will burn you out just focusing on it. You make the worst work. When I'm doing photos, right? I have to go away and come back. I have to go and get inspired. I have to go and just do a silly thing somewhere. You know what I'm saying? I'll go like pet a llama. I'll be like, I'm gonna go find where llamas live today and go spend a whole day trying to find where I can get a llama in the city. Just for the purpose of it, dead serious. And it's like on that journey, throughout that day, I will see colors in the world and I will meet people who are so interesting and vibrant that I can see a color from them. And I will go and pet this llama and be like, that's the texture of the photo. Come back home, I understand the photo differently now. And it's like when you want it so badly, it's like playing any game as a kid, right? You're up one and you get so I want to win. I'm the fastest kid alive that you lose. That you lose. You get so tunnel visioned that you don't see them pulling up on the sides of you and realize when you should take a breather and cut the corner. When you should, you know what I'm saying, pick up the pace and all this other stuff. You don't see it because you're in it. So you got to do other stuff and realize every time you're doing something that's not what you're doing, you are grateful for the thing you do get to do because you get the opportunity to do it.
I feel exactly the same way. It's like you're reading my mind. It's
Yep.
weird.
bro.
I,
Like I
I,
think it's just a thing all creatives go through.
I do remember there was a podcast a while back. I think I mentioned it on the show before. Now, Dwayne the Rock Johnson,
You mentioned me and The Rock in the same conversation.
there we go.
That's the whole clip right there. That's the only clip I ever want to hear. Sand, The Rock, collab. That's the I want to see
I could
that.
see that. I could see that happening. To be honest with
I will
you,
pay
I
top
can
dollar for that.
when I picture it in my mind, I can see it, and I think he would love to work with you. To be honest, but yeah, I remember him on the Joe Rogan podcast, and they were just going back and forth, but like they said something really interesting, and it was really inspiring. They were like, if you're thinking about things that you don't like doing in life, try to remember that like some people can never do that. For example, it's not I have to go to the gym. It's I get the opportunity and the privilege of going to the gym. It's not, oh, I have to go and do this job that I hate. It's I have the opportunity and privilege to do this job that I hate. No, but you see what I'm saying? Like
Yeah.
you have your mind, body intact. You can do this. I mean, like for instance, last night, yeah, it was tough, but it was also fun. It was mixed feelings. It was interesting. And it was a different experience. I made the most of it. But I came home and yeah, I felt a bit sorry for myself. To be honest, I think it was more just I'd had a few drinks. Sometimes I get like that. Alcohol is a depressant. It's not great. But you know, yeah, it
It's
just
the best of us.
accentuates those feelings, and then you know you wake up the next day and you're like, oh, I'm so silly. But I woke up. I woke up this morning. We both woke up this morning. Don't know if you're going to wake up tomorrow. You know,
Oh,
woke up,
man.
and you know we're doing this show after so long. I'll give you a bit of behind the scenes, guys. Like this show was ages in the making. I've been trying to get Nigel on the show for a long time, and this we just couldn't make it work. And then finally we get the opportunity, and it's a joy, and it's everything I thought it would be, and more. And it's funny how life works. At the moment when you need to hear certain things, you get told those certain things. I didn't expect it in this conversation, but here it is. I don't think anything happens random or by chance. It's all connected. I want to move on. I want to talk about you because this has been an inspiring nearly hour, but I want to talk
Wow.
all things Nigel. I wanted to
Come
start with
on,
this because
man,
I've
man. Nobody calls me Nigel. That's only my mama call me Nigel.
what okay, all right, I don't want to make you feel
It
comfortable.
sound like the
What's
beat in my
comfortable
heart to
for
reach.
you?
It all rolls off the tongue. Sand.
Sand. Okay, sand. All right, we'll go with that. Sand.
Yes.
Sandy.
Yes, sir.
All right, we're rolling with that. We're rolling with that. So obviously you're from America. You moved. We spoke about this in person, but I want to kind of like dig into this a bit. Why did you decide to move from Chicago to Manchester? That's a big move. You know, states to the UK. What prompted that move? Why?
I got a really long story arc.
Perfect.
Stuff in life journeys and travels and experiences. I was in the military
Right.
as a photojournalist. I spent 3 years down south with the military when I was in. Ended up getting out, going back to America. Hated it. Came back here for film school. Did the whole film school thing. Felt like that wasn't the real right goal for me because how do you make money? Yeah.
Uh,
The artist, the initial artist plight after finishing school of how do you make money? Did a business degree after that. Was like, I can't do this. Like, it made me realize one day, like, if I had to sit in the desk job, I'll kill myself. Like, I'm just not what you said earlier. It's just not me. It's just not me. But I'm good at faking it, and I wasn't gonna fake my life. So decided to just like focus on trying to like do media and film stuff and take it serious. And I just started doing every set I can get my hands on. If it was a film, student film thing, a free thing, whatever, I would just do it. And when I got to the end of my like business degree, right, I was in like my last semester and I was supposed to graduate. And I was doing the internship with this company who surprisingly used to work at the military. and they offered me a job at the end of my like internship. And I said to the lady, no, I'm gonna go to film. And I was just like, why the fuck you say that? Why would you why would you say that? When you got a paid job right here, you could just be good. And it was because I realized that I had to go and do this. So I just went and I had to realize I didn't care how I was gonna get on a set. I would go act on the thing, I would go do this, I would go do that, I would just do whatever. Just so I could build a life. I was like, I don't care what the role is, as long as I don't feel like it's ruining who I feel like as a person, like my character, I'll do it. And I would just go and just find positions on like just little random slots on just little productions here and there. And then one day my homeboy called me and was like, yeah, I got this job on Netflix or the Netflix series. You want help? You want in? I was like, yes. And that was like my first big film set. And I remember just like cleaning up and working on these sets and stuff. And one day I was just like, hey, this is a real job too. Now I'm upset because like I came here, I'm meeting all these people, I'm asking every question to everybody who will listen to me, but I was showing them my stuff too. Like I'm talking to directors and I'm talking so passionately about what I got going on that even though I'm sweeping the floors, people are taking like breaks, lunch breaks, this and that to come and watch my films. And that was like so cool to me. But I was working in London and I kept getting sets because I just kept building like good relationships with people on film sets. Um, and me and my co-director were deciding on where to move after film school. 'Cause she just finished film school. We came to visit Manchester, which was one weekend, because she had a friend who lived here. And funny enough, I only got into film school because I took pictures of her friend like 10 years ago in Greece, the most random, just worlds colliding thing ever. Um, so we came to meet that guy, and I just fell in love with the city. And I was just like, this is the place. I want to be here. I was walking up the street with her. We looked at a wall and it said, Manchester has more artists per capita than any place in the world. And I was like, oh, guess I got to move to Manchester. So
There is a lot to be said for like a particular place and its energy. I have to say, ever since I moved here, it's been 4 years. I don't normally stay in a place past 3 years, but this city has something different about it, like a different feeling or vibe, or like you say, it attracts creatives. You know, you
yes,
meet all these interesting people, and it's, I don't think it's by coincidence. I think it's like an epicenter for that, you know?
it like London is cool and interesting. There's all the cool people go, and I guess that's where you go for success and everything, right? But when I came here, I realized that like down south, I was cool. Like, or just a very strange character that existed there because it didn't make sense. Same with Pikachu. And then we came up here and we looked around and everybody was cool. Everybody was interesting. Everybody was quirky. Everything was just different. I was just like, these are the rooms I'm supposed to be in because it's not about being cool, but it's just like, this is genuinely interesting stuff. I just want to be around genuinely interesting people. And I feel like this city is genuinely just its own vibe. It's its own type of people. It's its own everything. And I wanted to be a part of that. You know what I'm saying? So I moved up here. Uh, my first maybe 6 to 8 months was the worst. I never had money. Oh boy, I was borrowing from everybody. Mommy, sisters, I love y'all. Y'all richer than me. Sad. I promise I'm gonna be great. I'm gonna be great. But like that was one of those things is I realized like I had to just keep making because if anything, I can't pay you back yet because I'm not rich, but I can pay you back by doing all the things I said I was going to do. So now I gotta finish this film that I showed all these directors. I gotta put it somewhere. I gotta work on my stuff, and I gotta go and figure out how to like work out the city. So I had a really struggle the first couple of months just trying to figure it out because I thought that like it was going to be as easy as it was to get into the scene again. But once you leave the film industry, you don't just jump back in. You can just jump back. It's hard to find a pocket because everybody wants these jobs. And then once you get in, you just run yourself to the exhaustion. No, I'm not doing that because I have my own visions for myself and my career and my goals. I'm my own self-start. I'm my own belief system, my own company. And what I ended up doing was I got a film set job. It worked out really well. I used that money to just kind of hold me over. But I met a guy just on the street. One day I realized that nobody here liked me. And I was so out of place and that I didn't feel comfortable. This is all me being in my own head because I'm just standing in the house, right? I decided to just go outside and talk to everybody who talked to me. If you looked at me, I talked to you. Didn't care who you were. I was going to talk to you. Just talk to you for the day. And I just went around the city talking to everybody. I was like, I'm going to make myself a part of this city. And I ended up meeting this guy who owned a clothing store. We ended up getting cool. And then he was like, "Oh yeah, you can use my like shop as your studio to like, work from. So you could just work outside. Cause I'm still at home just working out videos and photos and just shooting everything so I can keep making content to feel like I'm doing part of what I said I wanted to do." And we just ended up going into like a little partnership for a while. And that kind of just helped me sustain being a creative and, trying to follow my dream. Shout out Alberto and 100 Tags Studios. I appreciate it. But like, it was just like, that was one of those things where I had to realize that I was getting in my own head and just throw myself into the city. But Manchester is my home. I love it. I don't know how I feel necessarily about the rest of England compared to it. I like other places, but this place has my heart.
What has directing taught you about life?
Directing has taught me everything about life. Life is a movie, and it's not your movie. That's what directing is realizing life is mise en scène. It is Brecht. It is you observing the things around you and acknowledging what they mean to the world more than yourself. Life is the movie. You got to be able to just go and learn from everyone about everything and be open-minded because the director is the person who's going to maestro this whole damn thing. But if you don't understand where people are coming from, you can't understand where to take them.
Yeah. I mean, it kind of goes back to what we were saying about excelling in certain roles. And like, if you're an actor, it's obviously you're basing that on either having done the role yourself, as in having actually been whatever, a waiter, a bartender, a bank manager, whatever, or getting close enough to it that you can understand how the people work, how it feels to do this, etc., etc. But then obviously, if you're a director, if you're trying to create a feeling, an emotion, or an idea of a place or whatever, I mean, that's trickier. Um, there's a few examples that come to mind where I think it was done really well. For example, This Is England, I think is a really good example of that. You know, Shane Meadows was trying to kind of give people an idea of what it was like growing up in the 80s in England in certain places. And he really nailed it. But why? Because he grew up with that. He remembered. So he knew what to look for, how people should dress, how they should talk, how they should interact, what things should look like, how things should feel, all of that. Um, one of my heroes, Ricky Gervais, I think does it really well too. With every project that he does, where it's a series, it will be loosely based on something that he really experienced. Like The Office, he actually did work in an office, and he had a boss like that. So there is a real David Brent somewhere in the world. um, the best stories come from real life, from true stories. That's just how it works.
Yeah, it's just
Obviously,
honest observation, man.
sure.
It's honest observation. I think a lot of times people try to force a feeling they've never felt or experienced. The highs and the lows. I've seen them all, and I think that that's like sometimes that's where you pull your best art from is understanding what it was, you know.
I wanted to, because you mentioned earlier about being a photojournalist for the US Air Force. What would you say were the biggest lessons that you learned from your time doing that?
That was the first place I would say, like being during my time as a photojournalist. That was the first place I actually learned how to just talk to anybody, to have a conversation with anybody. I'm innately a shy creature, people. Aside from this like big personality, which is very much true, a big personality, I'm very shy, like, you know what I'm saying, to a degree. But I realized during that time in the military that everybody's just a shy person. Everybody's innately just a shy person, bro. So it's hard to like get past that first level of identification with anybody, which is the how's the weather talk. It's all fugazi, it's bullshit. Nobody wants to do this, but it's just a good guard to keep up and step around things. I just I just realized I had to be myself and be open and learn to communicate, and I could talk with everybody. I had to be able to talk to kids. I had to be able to talk to generals. I had to be able to talk to somebody whose spouse just passed. I had to be able to talk to somebody who was in an incident. I had to be able to just talk to every type of person and get an understanding of where they're coming from. You know what I'm saying? Have an open ear and not necessarily the biggest mouth in the room, but
Yeah. Yeah. I mean,
conversations past. It was good. It was great.
you also did volunteer work. So it's something I share in common with you. What did you learn through your volunteer work with the Samaritans, and how did you help people?
Oh, bro, I've done a lot of volunteer work. I've also worked with the Princess Trust. I'm trying to work with the Manchester Food Bank currently. Trying to become a student reader for some children, some little shorties. But it's just like I think you're supposed to give back, and it's not in like the super cliche way because this and that and yada yada. But I'm cool as fuck, bro. So hear me out. I'm cool as shit. And I would like to see this. Like, not in like a flexy way or no shit. Like, I'm not like a jewelry guy, this and that. But I just think that like I have a very clear passion and gusto and spark in my eye for life. And when I was in down places in life and I really needed something, I wish there would have been somebody around that I could just have seen to make me feel like shit could have been a lot better. Like when I was a kid, I wish I would have been around an adult who knew what they wanted to be. You know what I'm saying? Because most people, when you grow up, are just surviving. Your parents are just surviving, and they doing it for you, so you can't say anything. You don't understand it, but they had goals and dreams and visions and things that they wanted to die for too. You know what I mean? So I didn't know I wanted to do any of this stuff. I was none of this guy until I was like 25. I wish that somebody would have been around me at a younger age to send me in a direction. I probably had little key points of just an adult or somebody teach me some stuff, but now I'm an old man. I'm an OG. I'm a full-fledged like grown up. And I would have wanted to see this around when I was a kid. So I got to be this around for like the next generation because we don't got this. We don't got this. We got the internet and we got politics and we got a bunch of sides that you got to pick and a lot of things that tell you that if you're not this, you're less than. No, a lot of this is you. And you need people around you to help you find who you are, not what the world wants you to be.
Inspiring stuff. Thank you so much. You said the following in an interview that I found online. You said, the internet is not real. So I ask you, why is the internet not real?
The internet's not real because can we have a clip of this? I'm talking directly to camera for Instagram, Facebook, TikTok, YouTube, gmail.com, Yahoo, MySpace, tagged. The internet's not real.
Tagged.
BuzzFeed, Reddit.
Tagged. Jesus, tagged. I haven't done that in
The
years.
internet is not real. None of this stuff is real. Everybody's putting on the front. It's okay. It's okay once you realize it. Once you realize that everybody's just their best form, it's not real. Bro, my timeline is not real. I will post something from 7 years ago and something from today and some tacos from last week. It's not real. None of it makes sense. Stop believing everybody on the internet is a real feasible thing. Like, there are people interact with the people. The content and stuff is not real. It's all fake. I hate that we live in this generation now where like people will feel like they've met you through the internet. And it's a parasocial relationship where like
Mm-hmm.
I like to like change my name on Instagram because I think it's silly. So you call me a name or something, but I'll make that my name for a while. I'll just do that because I think it's silly. And people will come to me like, dang, bro, heard you changed your name and like your dog died and this and that and yada yada. And it's just like, where did you get all this? from a couple stories with some songs, like from a abstract picture. Like, no, that's a mood board. I don't care about what they think about me on the internet, bro. Like, this is a mood board for life. This is where I want to go and feel inspired about the shit I'm doing because everybody's doing fly stuff. And if you only looking at it in that terms, you're gonna be sad. Because now you playing the keep up game. Whose lawn is greener? I'm not doing that one. I don't care about none of that stuff. And I think most people shouldn't. I think you should go and you should give constructively to what it is. We not.
I,
We not.
I'll add to this as well. One of the things I try to really push with the podcast, the live streams, everything that I do is this idea that um, of authenticity, trying to be as real as possible because the internet, as you say, is not real. It's fake. It's full of fake cliches. It's full of people telling you stories that don't really exist. Like, I'll give you an example of something that just bugs me, and it's not really a big deal, but it demonstrates the society that we currently live in. More often than not, you will be walking down the street and you'll see people filming stuff for their social media. So I was walking down the street and I saw a woman and her older mother, like let's say her daughter's like mid 20s, her mother's like 50, right? And they were doing that thing where, like you kind of look back at the camera with the city backdrop and you're like, oh, take a, like, and she's like smiling, looking down the camera. And then, so this is acted out. It's like a film, it's not real. It's not a real emotion. But you wouldn't know that watching it on your phone, right? You'd think it was real. And I remember, well, you know what I mean. But maybe a lot of people would be like, yeah, this is not real. But like some people might buy that, right? And there's nothing wrong with that. But what was interesting to me was I was walking past, and obviously I need to get past, so I'm going to ruin this person's shot. I'm trying to be respectful and walk around, but there's only so much pavement that exists. Uh, so and I remember her shooting daggers into my eyes, like this very kind of like stern look, like angry look. And I remember just thinking like, what you're doing is bullshit. You can get angry at me all you want, but it's not real. It's just fake. And then I started like I just carried that with me as I was walking home, and I just thought about like the goal has got to be trying to get as close to reality as possible. Like you mentioned before about how if you're making film, if you're making whatever a drama series or something, um, how can you talk about something you've never felt before? How can you try to write a love song if you don't know what it means to love someone or lose someone? I always wrote about stuff I know. And it's funny because when I look back at stuff I wrote like when I was a teenager, yeah, of course it was crap. But why? Because I was trying to write about something I had no idea about.
Yeah.
And when I wrote about unrequited love, loneliness, feelings of isolation, feelings of not feeling like I'm good enough, and I put it out there, it's funny. When I went into the studio recently, I've been working on this album for a bit, trying to get it out by the end of the year. Some of these songs I wrote like 4 years ago, 3 years ago, about emotions that it's so far removed now that it doesn't really even feel connected to me. But then sometimes I'll sit and I'll listen to the lyrics and I'll remember where and when I wrote that song or why I wrote that song and, whatever. And, I've played them live, I played them on live streams, and people have responded to that and said, like, well, it made me feel this way, or I connected with it. It's relatable, whatever, right? And I think that's incredible when you can like reach people on that level, taking it into the sphere of filmmaking. I mean, you think about this film that you made that you're proud of and you put it out there and then you don't think about it again. And then someone comes and goes, I saw your film and it was amazing and it made me feel this, and this. And you're like, wow, like it's an incredible feeling. And that's the feeling I feel like we should be chasing, not this kind of like weird social media. I don't even know how to put it. It's like the never-ending chase for that dopamine hit. I covered it on a recent show recently with one of my guests, That's all it is. It's dopamine hits.
Yeah, no, that's pretty much it is, but all it is. But like at the end of the day, it's all bullshit. So we have to allocate people the ability to romanticize their own lives as well. You know
Sure.
what I'm saying?
Hmm.
This is just the VHS camera back in the 90s.
Mm.
You know what I'm
Yeah.
saying? People walk around with VHS cameras just recording everything like idiots, same way we do now. So we can't look at it like it's a new thing. We've always loved this. We've loved an ode to ourselves. A painting of yourself is an ode to yourself. You know what I'm saying? So even
Don't you feel
though,
like there's a key difference though, like between you and your dad filming a home movie of like, oh, this is us playing in the pool versus I'm trying to create this video for TikTok in the hope that it will go viral, and it's not an experience, it's not a real experience,
yeah, but that's where we lost like what's happened is we've turned everything into content.
right?
And it's an unfortunate thing because everything's content. Everything's content. Even this podcast, for example, right? The best clips are content that we can use to promote it. But it's authenticity in the fact that we're having real conversations. The inauthenticity is when it becomes content. So that can still be a moment in that girl's life, but now she's created content where everything in that world, in her camera spectrum, has to play a part in it. So unfortunately, you become a character walking past in the background who doesn't see it, and it's just an NPC in her life story. But it's all right because, you know, it's just a blip of your life and it shouldn't be apparently important because it's not a part of your story. Um, the thing is to wait for the bigger burn when you come into this artistry sometimes. Like the film I was telling you about that I showed in the Every Director when I was like working on these film sets and stuff, right? So I put it out because I couldn't get anywhere to like sponsor it, right? So I ended up putting it out myself on YouTube and it did beautifully. When I mean it did beautifully, it just did what it was supposed to do naturally. It probably only has like 1,300 views on the internet because out of no promotion and this and that, and it's artistic and weird. But I love the fact that it creates conflict with the people who view it. They either love it and it's enthralling and they have a feeling, or they hate it. That's real. That's honest. This new content era is the new form of that, but it's on a more base level. Like, so I see what you're saying, but it's like the kids I work with now, a lot of the musicians kids that I'm working with, they're all doing this thing where they make terrible songs and put them out. And I'm like, why are you doing this when you know it's a bad song? And it's like, but then I go and I look, right? And everybody's commenting and they're talking to them and they hate it, they love it, and they hate it, they love it. And while I don't agree with it personally, it helps them because that backlog of real art they have can get appreciated when people realize, oh, you don't actually make music like this, you make music like this. Those bait and switch videos just pulls into people's lives, man. They trying to get you to buy in too. So sometimes you got to just let them do their thing. It's unfortunate, but it's like it's apples and oranges. We not doing the same thing sometimes. Sometimes I got to look at it as, oh, well, we don't live the same life. I had to realize that I don't live the same life as all these people I was comparing myself to. Like, I can't be mad at my homeboy on a yacht with a bunch of like Instagram models or something when I don't live that life. You know what I'm saying? It's not
Yeah,
like I want to
no,
live. I don't aspire for it. I like the success, but it's not my life. So
I'm not
sometimes
hating
like
on people
that's
for
fake
it. Like
to a
I
degree, but it's everybody's trying. Everybody wants to be seen and feel acknowledged, and you know, it's all a tale of the take. It's,
I
you
get
know,
what you're saying. Like
that's
I'm
what the
not
take it
I'm
is. That's how it's all still the same. You want
no,
to feel seen and
I get it,
acknowledged.
man. Like I said, I'm not trying to like hate on people for doing that. I think I just it's more just that concept that bothers me, not people contributing to it. Like we've all done it. We've all made content like that because it's intriguing. Like will this go viral? Won't it go viral? How will people interact with it? Like you said, like some people create things deliberately that are bad because they want to get reactions out of people, and it works, and it's interesting.
Hmm.
It's interesting when things are divisive. I think it's more just the whole concept itself, and also just people acting like it's weird that you're living your everyday life and you're interrupting their little film session. Like, you know what I'm saying? Like, it's I don't know. Like, if me and you are doing a film and someone wanders onto set, it's like, oh, sorry, excuse me, we're filming this thing. thank you, and you're polite and you just let them know, whatever, right? Whereas these things where people are like, the amount of people I've had like tut at me about, oh, and like all this stuff, and it's like, whatever, okay, you do you, but right. It's
Yeah,
just strange. But I will say this though, you mentioned about parasocial relationships. It's a topic that I've covered on the podcast before. Um, yeah, you don't know the person. It is weird though that people feel that way. There's a sense of entitlement that exists there as well. I've had people before be like, "Oh, well, why won't you tell us about like your girlfriend or this, that, and the other?" And I'm like, "Because it's my private life. I don't want to,
yeah,
and it's
exactly.
you're totally fine. You can just say that. I don't share everything. And that's not. I think it's sensible on the internet to not share everything for your own safety. It's not just about wanting to paint a picture of who you are or worrying about what people think about you. I think it's just safety, especially if you're going to become like, I don't know, let's say you become a celebrity, right? If you post pictures of like where you are, people can now find you in a matter of seconds, and now like your safety is compromised. You know, like just little things like that. I think people have to be mindful of because there are some creeps and crazy people out there. You just need to be careful.
That's why the internet's not real. And you got to keep it not linear. Why would I want you to know where I'm at any given point? That's weird to me. I want to be left alone. I came to make art and be left alone. And I want to inspire people and be left alone. And at the end of the day, the goal is to be left alone. I want you to have your own story and me to have mine over here. Yeah.
Leave us alone.
Yes, leave us alone. You know what I'm saying? I'm pro everybody networking, creating, and doing beautiful things together, but I also like to be left alone. I don't want to be a part of that story. And you can just choose not to by walking on by, man.
Oh, enthusiasts.
The
What the hell was
owl
that about?
enthusiast.
What was that about? What was it about? So I did a voiceover for a little. I don't even know what to call it. A little video. It's fun that Sand released. It's on his YouTube. I'll make sure the links are there. And
Oh,
the brief was something similar to like David Attenborough. So I'm like, all right, here we go.
I'm crying real
And I
tears.
watched it and I sat there and I was like, what the fuck is this?
Yes,
That is great, but it was just,
exactly.
what is it?
What is it? What is it? What is it?
I don't know. That's what I'm asking you. It's-
I'm the number one. I think we're the number one ranked video on the internet for the name Owl Enthusiast or the word Owl Enthusiast. It is the greatest. So, in essence, right, I was directing this music video for artists. I was directing this music video for artists, right? And we were doing this day where we had to do green screen. So I have a friend, shout out to Aaron, and he has a pet owl named Aurora, right? And I was talking to him about this music video I'm putting together, and I'm like, I want to make this video where they're like tripping like off acid, right? He's like, oh, I have an owl. Like, I'll bring my owl. I'm like, he ain't got no owl. He shows up, he has an owl. My man's got an owl in real life. Me and this owl are best friends. We locked in now. You know what I'm saying? She's my personal spirit animal baby. But so he actually has his owl and he brings it to my house one day to shoot this video with us. And the kids that we're shooting like these young guys, and they're just like joking around and ripping and stuff. And one of them just comes up to us. They're like Beavis and Butthead, kind of like hey, 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 hey. He's like, yeah, we're like owl enthusiasts. Hey, 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 hey. And so they literally were just like so in these characters' heads, they just created randomly. Cause like in the music video we were shooting, it was just going to be a TV, like a flicker of TV channels. And every channel was just going to be a parody of just a TV show. So we made like Mortal Kombat, we made like Cobra Kai, we made like Pokemon, we made a bunch of just parody TV shows. And we just thought the owl enthusiast thing would be hilarious. So we ended up cutting like a piece of it to put in the video. And we realized that the content was just so funny that we had to do something else with it. And we were like, no, this isn't just for the music video. This is its own like just spoof TV show in itself. So after we got done with the video and we dropped it, I think I met you around that time. We got the idea about putting together the spoof video. And I was just looking at Instagram one day and I saw that you were doing voice acting. And I was just like, I said I want to work with Chris on something. Let me just see if he has the time. So while we in like a flow state of just trying to put this video together, I sent over like, I think I sent you a voice note or something just asking. And then you like, oh, just send me a brief. And I'm like, I don't really know what to brief you on. Just we don't even know what this video is gonna be yet. Like we're just making it as we go. And yeah, you came through. You gave us like three, I think 3 or 4 solid takes on just different voices, and we all heard that voice, and we're just like, "Yep, that's the one. That's the one." And just put it in the video, and it's what our like it's weird. Like it has its own like cult following. Like Redditors love it. Like for some reason, it's like a really Reddit is like was really heavy into it, and it's just like yeah, like we were just being silly, man. Like I think that like even being a director, sometimes people want you to be so serious all the time, and why everything don't got to be silly. Like sometimes I just want to make chaos for the sake of making chaos. Like, and it was like this is Adult Swim weird, where it has no purpose. It means nothing. What does it mean? Nothing. Nothing. It goes great with the music video, but aside from that, this is it a real TV show? Is it not? I don't know.
I feel like it's got legs,
It does.
personally.
It is like that's the type of stuff that like I think is interesting. It's just like since I'm learning to do this all on my own terms, it's conceptualizing the stuff that I want to do. Like, I don't want to wait for a big agency to tell me what I can do when I'm just going to do what I want to do now and create my own proof of concepts. If I do all the stuff that I want to do on myself in my own core, on my own pocket, unfortunately, then I create proof of concepts for what I want to do when I get to do what I want to do. And they can't just tell me to have somebody else's style. There's a lot of artistic integrity you lose with just being happy to be here. And I've been just happy to be here a lot of times and lost myself in that. So at this point in my life, I gotta go into business for myself and just really figure out what I want it to look like for me, what I want my brand to look like, how I want us to be perceived, where it's gonna go.
What's the best advice you've ever received?
Okay. The best advice I've ever received. The best advice I the best advice I ever received. I don't know. I get a lot of random pieces, but I think for me was the importance of eye contact. Like when I was a kid, I was like I said, I'm very shy people, very shy, besides this high demeanor. um I never looked people in the eyes and I was very just like I would be everywhere but to them. And my aunt just explained to me one time the importance and the power of just looking people in the eyes when you talk to them. And I feel like that's a lost art that we don't have in this generation anymore. People don't like to make eye contact because we don't look at people in real life anymore. Look people in the eyes when you talk to them because you can really tell who somebody is when you look at them and you can see who they are and you're actually actively trying to see them instead of just view them, you know?
Yeah, I know what you mean. It's like the old saying, the eyes are the window into the soul, supposedly. And if
Yeah.
it's true, if you look hard enough, you can see who that person is. What's the biggest life lesson you've learned so far?
Anything that can happen will happen. Fuck it. We ball anyways. I always ask myself post COVID what I would, and not even post COVID, but just during COVID, I was like, if the world was to end around you, what would you be doing? I was going to be doing this anyways. So I was still making stuff because I was going to do this anyways. The world, as we knew it, was ending. I was going to do this anyways. Life was sucky. Life was hard. There's always going to be a thing. There's always going to be a thing. There's never not going to be a thing. Once you clean your plate, guess what? You get a new thing, a whopping thing. That's what life is. So You got to ball anyways. Even when you don't want to, you got to ball for yourself. You got to ball for the future self. You got to uplift yourself for you because it's going to happen anyways. So fuck it, we ball. Do it. You got to do it because you wanted to do it anyways.
I feel like this whole show has been like a treasure trove of life lessons. So thank you so much for just sharing your wisdom, man. Final question for you. Do you have any upcoming projects or final thoughts that you'd like to share with our listeners?
I got 1,001 projects, and I can't even list them all because it's too much. But I'm making a costume with Pikachu for Pikachu, my co-director, for an event called Format GG. We're building the costume, the interface costume for the director of the company. That's a vibe. I'm doing some creative stuff we've never even got to do before, but this is all stuff I've created, people. You know what I'm saying? I'm doing branding with a clothing vintage shop in Affleck's Palace called Milner and Sons, helping them just bring themselves into the future and get the eyes that they deserve. I am working on 3 music videos. We're dropping a visualizer in about the next week and a half, 4,001 photos. I'm putting some shit in the magazine this year. I'm putting this all on the board because now I got to do it, and I've said it out loud. That's how I roll. Fuck it, we ball. Closing statements. Thank you for the time, the energy. I appreciate you, Christian. Thank you for sharing your platform with me. Thank you for having some real, genuine, thought-provoking conversations. And it's not just being a run-of-the-mill interview. I really appreciate that. I think that's what people need to see and enjoy is the honesty and the rawness of us being humans, not of this being a press run about no shit, not of this being an impress run where I came here to impress you or you came to impress me. Us just being. I think that's important, and I appreciate you for that.
I will add to that as well. Well, thank you so much, first of all. And secondly, I always thought with things like, and you could appreciate this, we both come from a marketing background as well. The best form of advertising and marketing is where you sell the story and the idea rather than the actual thing itself. Like, we know that you have a film production company and that you make films and that you do all these various different things. We've touched on those things, but we've gotten to know you, and you are brilliant and entertaining, funny and engaging. And that is the draw. That's the sell. That's what will make people think, oh man, I like this guy. I want to see more of this guy. I'm going to go check out his films. You know, that works better than just make sure you check out this company. Links in the description. Check this out. Make sure you like on there. Like, you know, no. Like we, as you say, we get to the humanity, the reality of the situation. That's something I've been trying to do with everything that I do is to stick to my guns, even though everything around me is telling me like, oh, you need to focus on a niche, you need to do what everyone else is doing. I'm like, I just feel like it's better to try and do something different, do something that you don't see a lot of people doing. The classic interview, the classic getting to know someone, a conversation. I don't know. What a concept.
A conversation instead of an interview. Wow, who would have thunk
Well, I
it?
mean, I throw my questions in. You know what I mean? Like, it's
Yeah.
still been an interview, but it's I don't know. I fell into that style a few years ago. Like when I first started the show, it was more like an interview, but then I was still trying to find my style, if you like. But I always just find that that's a better style to go. It's a much more disarming. People get a bit more comfortable, and then you can ask the bigger questions as well because people feel comfortable and they know you're not trying to like catch them. You know, there's no like gotcha moment. It's just no. Let's just have a good conversation, see where it goes, and see where it leads. Massive
Thank
thank you for being on the show, man. Real pleasure. You always serve as a massive form of inspiration for me. And I know all my listeners will want to go check out your stuff. So make sure you do. I'll make sure to put links in the description. So go support him in all his work. To all the listeners of the Christian Reeve podcast, you inspire me too. You're the reason that I keep this show going. So thank you so much for watching and listening. Make sure you like, share, and subscribe on YouTube if you're watching there. I'm seeing the comments more and more, so thank you. If you like to listen to the show on Spotify or Apple Podcasts, wherever you listen to the show, please leave us a review, a comment, a rating. All of that stuff helps. You know, I had someone recently say like, "Where's the best place?" or "Is this better than to do it here than here?" Everywhere is great Because if it gets seen and people are like, oh, hey, other people like the show, that's great. That's real people engaging with the show and liking the show. And that's what it's all about, you know. So thank you so much for watching and listening. Make sure you go and subscribe to my Patreon as well if you want bonus content and you want to help support struggling artists. Patreon.com/Christian Reeve. And now that all the marketing spiel is out the way, be safe, be well. Thank you so much for listening. See you in the next one.